Welcome. Oh my goodness, Cody. Welcome into Second Down right here on ESPN Radio. Christian Gokel, I guess, alongside Cody Queen. I'm a board op, not really board opping today, just kind of hanging out, running into the studio late. Glad to have everyone alongside here. Cody, I'm just going to step aside real quick, go back to my microphone, and we'll get the show started.
I was TikToking. I'm sorry. That's the most millennial thing you've ever heard.
It was a very inspirational TikTok I was watching.
Let's just recap. You weren't even TikToking. You were watching.
I was watching TikTok.
You were watching TikTok. Great. No, so let's just recap what happened. I'm standing here. Got about 30 seconds left on the old system, and we're like, all right, last spot's about to play. And it got down to 15 seconds. So I was like, well, all right, guess I'm taking the board hot. You didn't have the board hot, man.
I didn't have any. No.
So
I got everything else ready, though.
I guess I had the board hot. And
and myself. Yeah, I needed myself.
What happened there, Cody? Like, was it just TikTok?
I went to the restroom, came back, was out there in the area looking at the Louisville Clemson game. It's 14-9, and I was on some TikTok. And then next thing you know, Kevin walks out and goes, "Oh, there he is. It's about to start." I was like, "What?" And
it wasn't about to start. It just started.
Yeah, I ran up in here. I was like, "Oh, crap. Okay." And I lost track of time.
Well, Cam, we appreciate you being here on time. Cody, let's make sure we have Cam up on the board there. Yep, we got Cam. We're good to go. Cam, we appreciate you being here on time, brother.
Yeah, I'm here. Let's get the ball rolling.
Cody, do you want to apologize to the folks out there?
I do want to apologize. Apologize to everybody besides Christian Cook. I'm just fine. I don't mean to ruin your show, but
it's not my show. It's our show.
My name's not on it. It says Second Down with Christian Gokel.
It's Second Down
with some sidekicks,
and we're coming up in 6 days on our 1-year anniversary.
Yes,
and you've been on it the entire time, so it's our show.
I have an announcement on that 1-year anniversary too. We'll get to that.
That's
you already know the announcement.
Well, it just scares me how that's going to happen. But we do have a lot to get to today. Some fun audio. Brooks Koepka just hates Bryson DeChambeau, and he hates him in just the best way possible. We also have some audio from the mayor of New York City at one Trae Young. Actually, I want to start there because Mayor de Blasio from New York, a guy who was featured just last week wearing a Brooklyn Nets jersey with a Brooklyn Nets flat-billed hat, all of a sudden he comes out today, Cody, and he's wearing a New York Knicks hat. And he had some targeted words for one Trae Young, and I want to.
This is about basketball. I have an important official announcement. This is very serious. Want to get this out? Message to Trae Young on behalf of the people of New York City and anyone who cares about actually playing basketball the right way. Stop hunting for fouls, Trae. I want to quote Steve Nash, one great player, great coach. He says, "quote unquote, that's not basketball." Trae. That hawk's not going to fly in New York City. Come on. Play the game the right way. See if you can win. I think the Knicks are going to teach you a lesson.
Here comes Trae. We're down to 6, 5. Trae gets some daylight. Trae going up. Gets it with .9. He's done it again.
I think Trae Young knows how to get it done in New York, brother, because he got it done on Sunday night. But has anyone ever not sounded old or in the wrong when they say play the game the right way?
Get off my lawn type of thing.
I mean, I don't think anyone's ever sounded good when they've said that. But I mean, he said that hawk's not going to fly in New York.
It already flew.
Didn't it already fly? Cam, I mean, they're up 1-0 in the series. Did it not already fly?
Yeah, it did. Don't poke the bear anymore. He's probably going to make them more upset game 2 and maybe drop 40. I don't know, but it's a part of the game. He killed him.
Stirring the pot.
He became the second player in NBA history to have 30, 10, and 5 in his debut. The other one is LeBron James. But yeah, I mean, that's not going to fly. The other thing is
hang on, and LeBron did it at 21 and Trae did it at 22, dude.
I'm not comparing Trae
Young
to LeBron
I'm
James,
just saying they did it young,
impressive.
Very young, dude, Trae, way to go, man.
Yeah,
22 years old.
It was impressive. But let's get back. No, this isn't a Trae Young pump up segment. This is a de Blasio, the hell are you doing segment? Because I mean, Trae Young, Cam, had 9 free throw attempts in that game. In a highly contested game where he only took 3 3-pointers, he only had 9 free throw attempts, which means he wasn't getting a ton of fouls. I think the one that everyone looks at is with a few minutes left in the game, he got up to the 3-point line and the defender made a bad play. He got the defender off his feet, went up for the shot, the 3-pointer. Obviously, everyone sees you're going to get the foul there. But I just think that is what it is. To me, Cam, number one, for a mayor that not a week ago was wearing a Brooklyn Nets uniform to call someone out for going out there and stealing fouls when literally the king of flopping resides in Brooklyn right now with one James Harden. Like, I haven't heard de Blasio come out on this platform and say, hey, James, play basketball the right way. The hell out of here, man. You're down 0-1 in the series. The Garden was rocking. Everybody was freaking out. RJ Barrett throwing it down. Trae Young, all the chants. It was awesome. Trae Young with the teardrop. I mean, Cam, de Blasio can kick rocks, right?
Yeah, he just sounds salty. They lost. Had they won the game, none of this would have been said. But Trae Young is the quote unquote superstar in this series, so he's going to get those calls. You got to live with that. But I can guarantee game 2, the refs is going to swallow the whistle a little bit more and let them play even more than what they did the last.
I was about to say, how do you swallow the whistle even more? Trae Young only had 9 free throw attempts.
Yeah, I mean, 9 free throw attempts, but he attacked very, very well. On those attempts that he got fouled on, the one he got fouled in the mid range to tie up the game, I can see them swallowing the whistle even more, and that's something to be concerning about just because these comments.
Well, it is, Cody, something Nate McMillan, we talked about this. Nate McMillan said he got fined $25,000 for saying this.
Yes.
Nate McMillan said in practice leading up to this series, he specifically told the officials at the practices or whoever they had acting as the officials at the practices, and he told the other team to foul the first team, foul guys like Trae Young, John Collins, and to not give them calls for situations exactly like this, because he knew you're going up to New York. It's the first time since 2013 that they've had a home playoff game in New York, or that the Knicks have even been in the playoffs. And so you knew it was going to be nuts. You know that the NBA and TNT and all the other stations want to keep them in the playoffs for as long as possible, because, I mean, taking nothing away from Atlanta, but you're not going to get the same draw viewers wise as the New York Knicks, right? So they want to keep them in the playoffs as long as possible. So I agree with what Cam's saying. Don't be surprised if tomorrow night Trae Young tries to do that same thing from 3-point range and gets fouled, and that ref just kind of looks at him.
Yep. So everybody was like happy that the Knicks were doing good and everything, but now everybody's rooting against the Knicks now. Like, the more and more they start acting the same, dude, I don't know. I've seen a lot on Twitter that was,
well, yours might be a little bit more skewed towards Georgia
towards Atlanta. But a lot of people are just talking right now saying they cannot wait for the beatdown. The people are calling for sweeps. People don't even want the Knicks to win a game.
I got Hawks in 5.
Like, it's just I got Hawks in 6, like I said. But yeah,
Cam still got this one going to 7.
Are you still going 7?
Cam still got this one going.
It's going 7.
But now the narrative has completely changed from the New York Knicks. They absolutely deserve to be the home team. They're the better team between the Hawks and the Knicks. Julius Randle's the best player out of both teams. They're going to come into it. It's going to be a tightly contested series, but the New York Knicks are clearly the best team. Now the narrative has completely changed, where it's, look, the New York Knicks don't have the same kind of roster as the Atlanta Hawks. It's been gritty Tom Thibodeau offense and defense all year. So look, Julius Randle and these guys are going to have to be gritty. I mean, the narrative has completely changed within one game. This is why I love the playoffs, because regular season basketball is regular season basketball. It's like a regular season baseball game, right? You lose, it's fine, until you come down to those last few games where you're in the playoff hunt. Playoffs, every possession matters, just like in baseball. Every single pitch matters in baseball. It's so different, but I do love it. And I love the fact that the Hawks get a chance to play spoiler to the New York Knicks season. I mean, Cam, the ultimate goal for the Hawks has to be just to win one series, right? Because they will not be favored at all. I don't even know if they're favored in this series, but they won't be favored at all in any of the series remaining. No chance, I think, that they're making it to a conference championship series. So, I mean, I think the goal, and I think it would be a good end to this season, is if you can go out and knock the Knicks out of the playoffs. I think that leaves you on a high note. And listen, starting at the beginning of the year with Lloyd Pierce, no one expected anything out of these Hawks. And now all of a sudden you're seeing a good base. You got some good free agents. I think knocking the Knicks out, Cam, would be amazingly satisfying.
Yeah, it would be satisfying. It's a step in the right direction. But if they beat the Knicks, I'm not a Philly fan. I can't stand them. I don't think they're built like that. I'm not saying that's just locked in, guaranteed. Oh, the 76ers are beating the Hawks in the second round. That's just me. I think there's a lot more scorers on the Hawks. We'll have to see, but it's not a lot that Philly's just going to the Eastern Conference Finals if the Hawks get past the Knicks. But it would be a success to get past the Knicks, get a win.
I guess
so it would be big.
I guess, Cody, the point I'm trying to make is you're playing with house money if you get past the Knicks,
Yeah.
right? This is a series you feel like you should win now, right? You took game one at home, but if you get past this one, you win a series, you're playing with house money. Whatever you get is great.
I don't think they're expected to win. Like I
think everybody's called this a coin flip series. For the most part.
well, if they lose, we're like, okay, great season.
No, I think if you lose, it's disappointing.
No, man. I did at the beginning of the season where we all three of us were just like, holy crap, the Hawks are not going to the playoffs.
Lighting up.
There's no way that they're going to the playoffs. And then they got in the playoffs. I'm just happy they rebound their season. Next season they'll come back stronger. They got into the playoffs. They won against the Knicks, one game at least. I'm happy with that. If they lose every game after this, okay, we get it. We had an intern.
If you get swept out from here, it's bad.
An interim head coach who bounced back this season to go back from 30th in the league in defense to 11th in the league. I feel like it's a successful year no matter what. You're greedy. You're a greedy Atlanta fan.
I think perspectives and orientation and results change. I think the fact that you have had an unbelievable record, I believe 20 games over 20 games over 500.
Yes.
10 games over 500.
10 games.
Excuse me.
Not 20.
Since Nate McMillan took over.
11?
I think that's fine. I think you're more than 10 games now, but I think it's fine to say now it would be disappointing if the Hawks lose this series. I think that's fine to say.
Yeah, I agree. I think you got to win this series.
Yeah, I don't think this is we took one from the Knicks.
We got a shirtless guy in the mall. Kevin's like freaking out about it. We got a sorry guys. I know. Kevin, why are you doing this to us, man? He's like, look at this guy in the mall.
Look, Cody, sometimes you come in, you get some American deli, and Petey Pablo, take your shirt off. I mean, it's just
you get the meat sweats, dude. It's all right. It's all right, dude.
It is what it is. I do want to play the De Blasio sound one more time just to hear how cringy it is.
This is about basketball. I have an important official announcement. This is very serious. Want to get this out? Message to Trae Young on behalf of the people of New York City and anyone who cares about actually playing basketball the right way. Stop hunting for fouls, Trae. I want to quote Steve Nash, one great player, great coach. He says, quote unquote, that's not basketball. Trae, that Hawk's not going to fly in New York City. Come on. Play the game the right way. See if you can win. I think the Knicks are going to teach you a lesson.
I just want to point out one more thing. When defending the Knicks and trying to call out a player that the Knicks are playing in a series, he referenced a quote by the Brooklyn Nets head coach.
Yep.
So I just want to point that out. I mean, De Blasio is just covering all of his bases there. Sounds lame. Can't wait for Wednesday. Hopefully the Hawks are going home to State Farm with a 2-0 lead. We're going to come back, though. Going to talk some football. Excited about this next segment. Our good friend Brooks Austin is kind enough, Cody, to come hang out with us on Second Down. Because I know he's been hanging out with the old Kevin, BJ, and Ben a lot.
About time.
Going to come back, going to hang out with us. Looking forward to our conversation. We can talk some Georgia football next with Brooks Austin from Dogs Daily on SI.com. Welcome back into Second Down right here on ESPN Radio. Christian Gokel alongside Cody Queen and Cam Ursery. We are, of course, presented to you by the Uniform Source. We have some more audio to get to here a little bit later. Brooks Koepka, not a big fan of one Bryson DeChambeau, but we're going to get to another Brooks here on the line with us, Brooks Austin from Dogs Daily on SI.com. Brooks, we appreciate you hanging out with the early show here. I know you've gotten used to those late tee times.
Yeah, second down, more like second rate.
Wow.
Whoa, dude.
No, how you guys doing?
Good, man. We appreciate you. I know we've been talking a lot of Georgia football the last few weeks on here, and it can get a little one-sided. I'm pretty opinionated, and I can also read too much into other people's statistics. So, like, I was looking at PFF and our good friend Anthony Trace over there, and some of the ratings that they have put out for returning players in college football. And Brooks, I'm not gonna lie, I started getting pretty pessimistic and pretty concerned when I looked through all of their skill position rankings and didn't see a single Georgia player anywhere in the top 10 of quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, or tight ends.
Yeah, I mean, I'll withhold comment on that one. I mean, yeah, okay. Not a single top 10 player on an offense that averaged 37 points over the last 4 games last year. I get it. George Pickens is out. That's fine. JT Daniels is what, the third or fourth favorite to win the Heisman this year per Vegas's odds. And I understand there's probably not enough data points for him to even be ranked. So that probably throws him out of the discussion. Is Zamir White a top 10 running back in the country? Probably. I would think so. And then you move on down to the wide receiver room. It's fairly inexperienced for the younger guys. Does Jermaine Burton meet those thresholds? That's the thing about PFF. You got to be very careful at reading into their statistics because you don't know what their thresholds are, their minimum snap counts are, things like that. But yeah, I find it borderline asinine that not a single Georgia player on an offense, like I said, that's projected to do some really great things this year. They don't have a single top 10 player. That's a bit of a stretch for me.
And I know I texted you some stuff that I just kind of had a working thesis, right? I went back over the last 5 years and looked at all the national championship winners and their offense, and it basically came out to you needed a first-round quarterback. You needed basically 1.5 first-round wide receivers. Most of the teams had 2 of them. And then you need a first-round running back. And so just projecting out, do you think this current Georgia offense has a first-round quarterback, 2 first-round wide receivers, and a first-round running back?
So I do think JT Daniels is going to be a first-round quarterback in this year's upcoming draft. As far as the wide receiver room goes, George Pickens, assuming he comes back if he plays the last 2 or 3 games, and runs somewhere around that 4.51, sub 4.5 in the 40 at his pro day, I believe he's going to be a first-round draft pick. And then moving forward, you got to project into the future. Zamir White's not going to be a first-round draft pick, even if he has, a 1,300-yard season, just because of the injury history that exists on those knees. So you can throw him out of the book. James Cook the same because he's more of a gadget back, not exactly a 3-down back that the NFL requires for you to be a first-round draft pick. But Kendall Milton, I think 100% has a chance to be a first-round draft pick in the future. And then guys like Jermaine Burton, does he sneak into that discussion? What does Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint's NFL draft prospect look like in another year from now after his 3rd year in college? Those are discussions we've got to have moving forward. But projected this year, they're still pretty young offensively. I mean, they don't really have a senior that's absolutely dominant. I mean, the oldest player on their roster right now offensively is what, Demetrius Robinson or Justin Schaefer or Jamari Sawyer?
Demetrius, because I think Demetrius is playing, his 6th or 7th year of college football?
We're going to be talking about in the first round.
Yeah, I think it's got to be Demetrius because I think he's playing, his 6th or 7th year?
He's definitely the oldest for sure on that roster. He's in his 6th. He's going into his 6th year of college football.
All right, so I did want to ask you, though, about the offensive line, because for me, if I'm a Georgia fan, I know you look at quarterback and you look at the running back room, and as soon as George Pickens went down, you got real concern about wide receiver. But to me, even outside of quarterback, the position group that was the most disappointing last year was the offensive line. I think you were held to 0.1 yards per carry against Mississippi State. A lot of the rushing stats got skewed by one game, that being South Carolina, where you just torched basically a 50-man roster for South Carolina after a bunch of their pros had already opted out of the season. I mean, Brooks, last year, I'm throwing away a lot of that tape if I'm Matt Luke and focusing on 2021.
Yeah, I think you caught him in a transition period between what Matt Luke was wanting to do and what Sam Pittman had recruited to do over the last 3 or 4 years at the University of Georgia, where they were much more of a ground and pound type of offense, an inside zone oriented offense, more of what I like to call bully ball. Whereas Matt Luke wants to play with a lot more athleticism. He wants to play with a lot more schematic versatility and things like that. He wants to run counter. He wants to run pin and pull. He wants to run toss sweeps, things like that. In his offensive system and what he wants to do with his offensive line. And for that matter, so does Todd Monken. So I think he caught him in a transition period last year in between those two things. But, you recall the Mississippi State game, and you can throw Cincinnati in that game as well in that discussion in terms of poor run performance. But, I mean, Christian, you're a smart guy. How many guys did both of those teams have in the box, and what did it result in terms of what JT Daniels did through the air? It was very clear to me. You saw defenses, especially Mississippi State. They knew they were getting JT Daniels. They knew JT Daniels was making his first start for the University of Georgia, coming off of a pretty horrific knee injury. So what do? They put 8 in the box, and they blitzed them, and they played man coverage everywhere else. And JT Daniels torched them. I don't expect offensive line, or offenses in general to have rushing success against 8-man boxes. I'm sorry. I don't care how good you are offensive line-wise. It's just not reasonable to expect those things to be good. So, was there some up and down, inconsistent play offensive line-wise? Yes, 100% without a doubt. But there was also some, different extenuating circumstances that went on to that with the schematic changes, one, and what defenses were trying to do to them once JT Daniels took over as the quarterback for Georgia.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say, even with all the guys you recruited to, any line in the country is going to take at least a small step backwards when you lose Andrew Thomas, Isaiah Wilson, and Solomon Kinley all in one draft. But you do have those young guys who are 5-stars who got that playing experience last year. Brooks, I was impressed with Warren McClendon as the season went on. You got some guys to stay in college instead of going to the draft. I know you and I talked about that and said they probably didn't have great draft grades anyway, but still big to get the experienced lineman back in the SEC. So going left to right, what is your prediction as to what we're going to see game 1 against Clemson?
I mean, that's the thing. If they were opening the season against San Jose State, I think you see them try to give a young guy a chance out there, left tackle. But I think to start the season, if I have to hide someone, I would rather hide a young guy on the interior of my offensive line than try to get away with hiding someone at left tackle. So I do think, barring whatever happens this fall during camp, I do think you see Jamari Sawyer start out at left tackle to begin the season with Justin Schaefer to his inside, Warren Erickson at center, and then probably a guy like Tate Ratledge having to step up and play guard against Clemson, and then Warren McClendon, who you hit on, man. He is the bright spot for me. He is the only known constant that I can guarantee you is going to play well this fall. Jamari Sawyer wants to play guard. The NFL wants him to play guard, but Georgia just might need him to play tackle to open the season against Clemson because, again, you're not warming up. You're getting thrown straight into the fire, and I don't think you want to go into a football game not knowing what you're going to get out of left tackle. But towards the end of the season, man, I'll be honest with you. If Amarius Mims is starting at left tackle as a true freshman midway through the season, don't be shocked. That kid is absolutely bona fide. I was talking to a guy the other day that said, I mean, it's a lock. He's going to be a top 10 draft pick when he is done. The NFL is infatuated with this young man already, and he hadn't even stepped foot onto a college football field.
Hey, Brooks, I got one question for you. What position group are you looking forward to most in 2021 for these UGA Bulldogs?
Probably that defensive line group, that interior defensive line group. I just want to see how dominant Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and Devontae Wyatt ultimately can be. And then you throw in a guy like Trayvon Walker into that mix. I think Trayvon Walker is what Malik Herring could have been. And it's not that Malik Herring didn't live up to expectations. He was a great football player for 3 or 4 years at Georgia, but Trayvon Walker is a specimen of a human being.
They got him running down on kickoffs, man.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. Running down on kickoffs, covering Tank Bigsby out of the backfield against Auburn. I mean, the guy is absolutely freakish at 6'5", 300 pounds. And for the first time, after 2 years of kind of sitting on the bench and getting spot roles and spot playing time, kid's going to be playing almost every down for Georgia this year. If he puts up an insane statistical season, don't be surprised if he heads off to the NFL too, because of the measurables and the intangibles that kid has. He's 6'5", 300 pounds, and he just might be pound for pound the freakiest athlete that Georgia has on the roster.
Brooks, I did want to touch on these transfers with you. I know more guys going out than coming in for Georgia, but you do get Tyke Smith, who we were talking about PFF. They have him ranked as the number one safety returning in college football. And then you go get Brandon Turnage, a corner from Alabama. Obviously, Tyke Smith, I think, immediately fits in, but do you think Turnage is a guy who's going to push for a starting role?
I said this on my show last night. If anybody's coming out here telling you that they know what Brandon Turnage is, they're just blatantly lying to your face unless they've seen practice film. The guy's played in 4 college football games, all 4 of them being blowouts. So unless you're watching Georgia or Alabama against Mississippi State when they're up 40 points, which, guys, I'm not.
Come on, man. You're the film guy.
I understand, but there is more pertinent film for me to be grinding than 48-0 against Mississippi State midway through the third quarter. I apologize for that. But no, anybody that tells you they know what Brandon Turnage is that's not in that Georgia facility, they're fibbing to you. You're projecting off what you saw in high school, which, yeah, he committed to Alabama out of high school. He was a great high school football player, but we are 2 full seasons removed from that. And to be honest with you, there is a reason why he left Alabama, and that's because he got beat out by 2 freshmen. So he was 5th in that cornerback room, not that defensive back room, that cornerback room at Alabama. That's why he hit the portal, and that's why he's at Georgia. Is he a much needed, great depth piece that's got 3 years of eligibility for Georgia? 100%. But can I sit here and tell you what he is or whether or not he's going to be impactful this season? No, I can't tell you. And honestly, I don't think Georgia can tell you yet until they get him in camp and see how he stacks up against those young corners that they have. As far as Tyke Smith goes, that's a prime example of what PFF does. Got him listed as a safety. I'm here to tell you, that guy ain't no safety. He played maybe 10% of his snaps as safety at West Virginia last year. He is a nickel corner. He is going to play star for Georgia. He will not be playing deep safety. And the fact that an analytical company that claims to be a film-oriented company does not have a nickel position listed on their website is absolutely blasphemous to me. Every football team in the world has a nickel package, yet PFF doesn't have nickel stats.
Yeah, that's the name. That's the position that gets all the cool names like Joker and Star, right? That's the fun position.
Yeah, it's not just necessarily the fun position; it's the pivotal position.
Oh yeah,
it's how they run their entire defense. It's what they do it out of. They play out of nickel, and when they don't, and when they want to go 2 outside linebackers, the Sam, aka Adam Anderson, comes onto the field and he'll play, and they'll play 4 DBs behind it. But the base defense for Georgia, as has about 80% of college football at this point, has gone nickel defense. Everybody plays 5 defensive backs in college football nowadays. And again, the fact that an analytical field-based organization that goes out and puts these ratings on players has no idea to even slide in a nickel corner slot on their website for a guy like Tyke Smith, who, guys, he's 5'9", 200 pounds. That is not a safety by any stretch of the means. He can play safety, but he's not going to play safety in the NFL, and he's not going to play safety at Georgia.
There you go. Brooks Austin joining us here on Second Down. Brooks, I wanted to ask you about a couple of guys. Number one, we're talking about corner right there. Christopher Smith filled in when Richard LeCounte got hurt last year and pretty much held that position for the rest of the season alongside Lewis Cine. What are your thoughts on him? Because I think a lot of people have a perspective of him where he's just a guy who filled in for the 5-star and just held the position down. I kind of have a different take. I saw a couple of plays specifically against Cincinnati where, he filled gaps really well, ran the alley, made tackles in the run game, and made some plays with some really good closing speed.
Yeah, that's what he is. He's a lightning bolt back there. The problem is he don't quite have that thunder in them pads just yet. So depending on how much weight he puts on this offseason, that's kind of something I'm interested in seeing. And not just how much bigger does he get if he gets bigger, but can he maintain that weight? You're going to hear this offseason about guys like Adam Anderson, Nolan Smith, Christopher Smith, putting on all this weight. All these insiders will come out here, myself included, and will tell you how much weight they put on. And I'm here to tell you that every offseason, guys that need to put on weight, put on weight. Talk to me in October. Do they still hold on to that weight?
Once the season starts, that weight starts shedding.
Adam Anderson gets up to 240 every offseason. By the end of the season, he's playing at about 228. Can he hold 240 pounds throughout the season? Can Chris Smith hold whatever weight it is they want him to get to? Apart from that, I think you hit the nail on the head. This is a guy that came into unexpected circumstances since that Richard went down, And by the end of the season, I saw a guy that was playing with a lot more confidence. And, you know, he's an older player. He's a guy that's now got experience under his belt for the first time in his college career. And he's playing with a lot more confidence. And that confidence breeds success at that safety position, because if you're second guessing any type of your decisions or your decision-making process, you're a step behind. And if you're a step behind, that's 10, 15 yards it could mean, or a touchdown behind you. So I saw a guy that got much more confident, and I expect him to play much more confident this fall.
And finally here, Brooks, I kind of want to ask you a theoretical question, I guess, or just from your observations around the team. I know for the last 2-3 seasons, the entire conversation around Georgia has been about offense, right? Jake Fromm's last year, you have the South Carolina game, and you're like, we got to make a change. The year after that, the offense is okay, but now in 2020, you have all the quarterback situation. It's basically been 3 years of conversations around the offense, and I know Kirby Smart has kind of played into that, talking about Todd Monken, how he's excited about the players and the wide receivers and the different positions that they're recruiting. But I mean, how laser focused is he on trying to keep that defense as one of the 1-2 defenses in the country?
I mean, it is his primary focus, because that's just how he operates. I mean, he's a defensive mind. It's what he is. Now, does he know offense? Yes. But you don't pay $1.8 million to Todd Monken to not allow him to do what it is that he wants to do. So it alleviates some pressure from a guy like Kirby. But if you come from that Saban tree, if you spend as much time under Nick Saban as Kirby Smart did, you're a control freak in all of the great senses of the word. I mean, he wants his hand in everything. So, yeah, is he going to release the reins just a little bit? 100%. But is he going to be sitting in on offensive meetings every once in a while? You bet it. Yeah, I think there is an importance of keeping Georgia up to the standard that they always have been defensively. But I think you would be, remiss to not understand that they are going to take a step back, not only because they had 6 defensive backs leave that roster. That's going to be a major issue. But most importantly to me is your offensive style is going to change. You're going to score much quicker. You're going to take a little bit more risk in terms of potentially turning the ball over. Your turnover margin is not going to be as high. I think defensively, you're going to play a little bit more of a risk, high risk, high reward type of football with your front seven. You don't have Tyson Campbell, Eric Stokes, Richard LeCount, and Lewis Cine hanging out in the back end of your defense anymore. Lewis is still there, but you guys know the attrition that's happened in that back end. So how do you account for a defensive backfield that might be inexperienced, definitely talented, but the way you account for it is, get pressure on the quarterback, get guys upfield, allow Adam Anderson, Nolan Smith, Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, Jalen Carter, Trayvon Walker, allow all these guys. Quay Walker at the linebacker position. Channing Tindall had 4.5 sacks last year in very limited time playing. I think you're going to see Georgia play a different style of defense than and it's going to be hard to notice. You're just going to see it in the box score. It's like, oh, Georgia's starting to sack the quarterback a lot. Well, I think that's what's going to happen this year, because they're trying to protect that back end.
There you go. Brooks Austin from Dogs Daily on SI.com. Brooks, we always appreciate it, man. Good talking ball with you.
Yeah, holler at me on third down. We'll see you guys in about an hour.
Brooks Austin from Dogs Daily on SI.com there, man. It just feels good, Cody, just to talk football, college football specifically, here as we sit in the last few days of May, man. I mean, I know we've indoctrinated you as an NFL guy into college football, but just talking about the season, talking about defense, talking about the offense and how that's going to affect the defensive rankings. It just feels good.
For Brooks Austin, he is one of my founding fathers of college football knowledge that I have picked off of. You, Brooks Austin, BJ Bennett. There's a few of them out there that I owe to some of my college football knowledge, and Brooks is one of them. Thank you for being on.
And just slightly opinionated on some things.
A little bit. He was burning some bridges a little bit.
Just slightly opinionated, but we always appreciate Brooks hopping on with us. Great talking some Georgia football with him. We'll come back. We'll get some more audio from over the weekend. We'll dive into it when we come back right here on Second Down. Try and explain things to BJ Bennett.
I know, dude. You're like a heated college conversation.
Well,
back there.
let's just talk about what we're talking about. It's
Okay.
There's a great news story on ESPN.com from Alex Scarborough, basically about how the transfer portal is affecting not just players currently in college, but players who are in high school, right?
Yeah.
And so the road to college football with transfers is becoming harder for the FCS G5 level high school football players.
Okay.
Now, why is that, you ask? He has a great quote here from a Power 5 defensive coordinator. Says, a school like us is going to come, or excuse me, he says, talking to Tom Van Haren, he said he wouldn't bother recruiting high school players if he was at a place like Ball State. If he helps turn that player into an all-MAC type, a school like us, being a Power 5 school, is going to come and take him. Why spend all that time developing a kid only for him to leave me when I can go sign the kid who's unhappy as the fourth corner at a Power 5 school, and he's a better player anyway?
Dang.
So some people say, well, you know, the players, you're going to have to even that number out. Not inherently. Who's being affected? Now, there will always be scholarships, right? There's going to be something, but it will not always be the same. And a lot of players are going to miss out on opportunities. Instead of a player that is a G5 or an FCS level player getting selected, then maybe they have to go D2 or they have to go the JUCO route, and they never get a chance to go back to that level. Now, if it pans out, that's great, but we all know extenuating circumstances affect people. Being away from home affects people. And so just break down what that defensive coordinator said. If I'm at a lower level school, G5 level school, right? Why would I go recruit a really good high school player that I'm going to develop, and when he's all conference, an SEC school is going to come and scrape him off of me as a transfer because they need a third corner, when I could in turn just go to their fourth corner, who is probably a higher rated prospect anyway, and just recruit him to come to my school for his last couple of years because he's tired of not playing.
Yeah, you go there.
Texas State didn't sign a high school football player this year.
Oh yeah, no, not at all. They just had them all transfers,
They
right?
had all transfers.
Yeah,
That's
all.
weird.
Yeah, that's right, Cam. The whole
That's
Cam.
weird.
Yeah, they got all transfers this year, and they got a couple really good transfers too. So no, you're right. They could just go and get like a 3-star that already has college football under his belt.
And well, the other
you
thing
know,
that's being affected as well is because of this extra year that they're giving to the seniors that currently play, which I'm not disagreeing that they shouldn't have given it to them, but the NCAA basically just washed their hands of the situation and said, you will have a scholarship increase for 1 year for the amount of seniors you had on the roster, so they can play that next year. But if you have those seniors staying, and then you're trying to bring your recruiting class in, and then you're trying to get transfers, that's going to be something that affects 4 or 5 years down the line. And all of a sudden, scholarship opportunities that were going to be open for high school kids aren't there anymore.
Yep, for kids around my age. I mean, my son's age.
Right.
You know, like that's literally what we're
and
like,
NCAA
talking about.
said, so are we going to have this kind of as a staggered thing where like the scholarships decrease like 3, 4? No, it just goes back to normal next year.
Boom. They just collapsing the football recruitment economy. There it is. Not our problem. We're going to give an extra year this year.
No, we did
after
good.
that. Not our problem.
Not our problem. We did good. But no, it's really affecting kids that were Division II level kids, FCS level kids, G5 level kids who now don't have that opportunity because that scholarship's now there, or because you have a transfer come in or you have a senior go out, then they have that initials there on the line. Well, we don't have the spot anymore for a high school football player.
Yep.
So it's interesting. It's going to be one of the unforeseen consequences, I believe, of the free transfers. I'm not saying that the players should have to sit out for a year with the transfers, but I'm saying there will be consequences. And one of the consequences, we've seen it from Oklahoma. Instead of going out and picking up 4 or 5 more 5-stars, they go out and get 3 players from Tennessee that already have experience in the SEC, right?
The way we see football now, it's going to be changed.
Oh, college football is changing. And I think
Brooks said that,
who we just had on, made a great point about it. Is like, don't fall in love with that 5-star that is committed to your team, because chances are very good that they're not going to be there a year after that. So some interesting stuff, unforeseen consequences just around college athletics. I think Georgia basketball had 9 players transfer out after this year, but have already filled back up with new transfers, including a backup point guard from Gonzaga. So it's the new age. We got to take a quick break though. We'll come back. Final segment of Second Down next. Got Braves baseball coming up for you tonight as they take on the Red Sox. I think probably the biggest test in terms of the best team the Braves have played so far this season. The Red Sox currently 29-19 on the year. You have Charlie Morton on the mound versus Garrett Richard, Garrett Richard has been very good. But I mean, that Braves offense, Cody, has caught fire. Last 3 games, they outscored the Pirates 33-3, 20-1 in there as well. So you got Charlie Morton on the mound. I know that's a little worrisome for some Braves fans out there, but look, listen, last 2 starts back on May 13th against Toronto, he went 4 2/3 innings, gave up 3 runs. And then his last outing against the Mets went 6 innings and gave up just 1 earned run in that game. So some cautious optimism building. And Cam, I know it's something we've been beating on. If you can go in and somehow take 2 games away from the Red Sox, you're over 500 for the first time all year.
Yeah, it would be nice to get over 500. We just have to see, but if they go 1-1, I don't think none of us are complaining either, though.
I don't know, Cody. I went over 500.
Of course, you went over 500, but it's as long as they get at least 1 win, I think it's a successful series. Then you're going to go on to play the Mets. That's who I'm really worried about.
Because
that's who I'm really worried about.
That's the big one.
Mets have kind of the injuries have finally caught up with them.
Going down, yeah.
The Mets currently lead the division over the second place Braves by 1 game.
Oh.
That's what I'm worried about. The Red Sox, okay. If you lose them, but like you need to get ready for the Mets. Like the Mets is what you're gonna. It's what you got to do.
But that's coming up tonight at 7:10. We'll have full pregame coverage for you on that one. Coming up on 3 and Out, though, we'll catch up with Georgia quarterback legend Quincy Carter. That's coming up at 4:30, and then we'll catch up a little bit later in the show with Eric Kane. Covers the Vols up in Knoxville. We're going to talk about Josh Heupel's tenure so far at Tennessee.